Jackson, can you get in your bed? Can you lay in your bed? How about you lay in your bed? Okay, I guess not. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing a first impressions review and demo on one of the newer foundations from Makeup Forever, and that is the Ultra HD Invisible Stick Foundation. And there are a couple reasons why I went with the stick foundation over the liquid formula. The first reason is that I heard that people actually preferred the stick version over the liquid formula better, and the second reason is actually a personal reason. My biggest struggle with my skin is clogged pores, and recently I have been having more issues with it than normal. So I went through all of my skincare and I went through all of my makeup, and I found a common ingredient, which I can't say the name, but it is a type of silicone, but I'll call it Cyclops, and I'll actually post it right here and in the bottom bar below so you guys can kind of do some research on it. I know a lot of people have issues with silicone in their makeup products, and it tends to clog people's pores and make them break out. So I'm experiencing that right now. So like I said, I did a full intake of all of my products and I just got rid of them. This foundation actually doesn't contain that silicone, so I was very pleased when I was reading through the ingredients and saw that this actually didn't contain the Cyclops ingredient. So that was another major reason for me picking the stick formula over the liquid formula. It was actually the main reason. So I'm really excited to try this product out for the first time today on camera. So before I get into the review and demo portion of this video, I will talk a little bit about the product itself. This is what you get when you purchase this product. It's pretty typical Makeup Forever packaging. With the amount that you get with this product, you get 0.44 ounces, which is significantly smaller than most products in this price range. This goes for $43, and I know a lot of foundations within the $40 to $45 price range, you do get one full fluid ounce. So it is a little disappointing that you only get 0.44 ounces with this, but it is what it is. This is the packaging itself. It comes in a nice little sleek tube. You have a cap right here. Prior to me starting this video, I did test a swatch on my neck to see if it would be pointless to film this video because of the shade range or the shade option. So I did remove the plastic covering from here, so you do get that with it originally, but I just took it off, and then this is the product itself. I know a lot of people don't like this kind of product because you just swipe it on your face. You can pick it up with your brush, but even then it's a little unsanitary. It doesn't completely bother me because you can always go in with some alcohol and just wipe off the top layer. But I do like the packaging of this. It's pretty travel friendly, it's small, it's compact. You can bring it with you if you need for touch-ups later on in the day. The range comes in 15 total shades, and they are deciphered by a Y and an R in front of the actual number of the foundation. The Y stands for yellow and the R stands for red based on your undertone. So if you have yellow or red to pink undertones, it does make it very easy to find your shade if you're going in blind like I did and not know anything about the Makeup Forever shade range. On the bottom of the packaging, you will see two numbers here. 120 and Y245 is the shade that I got. The 120 represents the shade that this came in the original formula, and the Y245 represents the current shade that they have created. I didn't know to go off 120, so I picked this blind, and I think I did a pretty good job at choosing a shade that best matched my skin tone, so it does make it easy with those Y and R letters in front of the number. The packaging states that this foundation feels like a second skin and still provides medium to full coverage while looking flawless and natural. The creamy texture blends in seamlessly to conceal imperfections. Perfect for touch-ups, the formula glides on and makes skin look even-toned and moisturized with a soft satin finish. The box says great for all skin types, even dry skin, which is kind of funny because I think if anything, this was made for dry skin, but I'll get into that into the demo and review portion, which I'm actually just going to jump into right now because I find the best way to review a product is letting you guys see it, how it applies, how it wears, and things like that. So if you want to see my thoughts on the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Stick Foundation, then just keep on watching. Okay, so before I get started, I did just briefly want to mention that I applied a moisturizer prior to filming, and it's my daily moisturizer. It's the Neutrogena Rapid Tone Repair. This does have an SPF of 30 in it, so I'm not going to be doing a flashback test or anything like that because any flashback that occurs will most likely be because of the moisturizer. So I didn't want to misrepresent the foundation by any means. So for this first impressions, I am going to apply a primer to half of my face, which is something I don't normally do. I'm a big fan of the Smashbox primer water, and that I find is enough for me, but I did use this the other night for the first time, the Maybelline Baby Skin Instant Pore Eraser, and I really like the way my foundation applied over top of it. I used the L'Oreal Pro Infallible Matte Foundation, and I wore it to a holiday party, and my skin just looked flawless the entire night. Application was so smooth, so I am going to give this a try, and like I said, I'll just apply it to half my face so we can see how the foundation wears with and without a primer. So I'm just going to take a little bit on my finger and then just apply it and dab it in. I don't have issues with large pores, but I do have fine line issues, especially right here on my smile line. Throughout the day, my foundation definitely settles, and wearing this underneath my foundation the other day, I found really helped with the creasing. I'm going to take some just a little bit under my eye and on my forehead. But I really liked this primer. It does feel a little bit silicone-y. I think there is dimethicone in here, but I wanted to give it a try anyway. As usual, I am going to use two different tools to apply the foundation. I'm going to use my Morphe M439, and then I'm also going to use a Real Techniques blending sponge. I think I'm going to use the blending sponge on this side and the Morphe brush on this side where we did not apply primer. So I've heard that this is a full coverage. I don't know how much to apply exactly, so we're going to start off small and then kind of go from there. But this is what the foundation looks like, and I'm just going to start applying it straight from the stick, and we'll see where it goes. So from the tube, it applies super, super smooth. It's a very, very creamy consistency. And normally when I think stick foundation, I feel like it's just gonna drag across my face, but this didn't seem to do that. It is very, very smooth. I'm actually like a little taken aback right now because it is so easy to apply straight from the tube. I'm just gonna start blending this in. So far I am pretty impressed and at how easily this blends in. There's like little to no effort in applying this. The coverage is pretty nice. I still see some imperfections around here showing through. I don't know if it'll show up on camera, but overall, it's a nice medium coverage to start. We'll see how it applies with the brush next, just to see if you get a fuller coverage with the brush, which usually when you're comparing sponge and brushes, you do. So I'm gonna leave it at that for now. I will go in with a second layer to see how buildable it is, but for now, I think we'll just keep it where it's at and then try it on the other side with a brush. So I'm pretty much just gonna do the same thing. Kind of. It's so smooth. It's like incredibly silky on the skin. Because I am drier, I am gonna take my M439 and just spritz it with a little bit of Fix Plus, because when I use this foundation brush, I normally like to do that. So we're just gonna get it a little damp and then start to blend it in. Again, with the brush, there's like little to no effort needed. Super, super smooth on the skin. It's very silky. It's a very, very nice consistency. I really like it. coverage is definitely better with the brush. So if you want to use less product, I would definitely use the brush or whatever your favorite brush is to apply this. I feel like I don't even need a second layer with this side. I am going to go back and apply a little bit more to my problematic areas right around here. I actually think I'm going to apply the second layer with this side because that's how much I like this brush with the foundation. But I'm sure any brush will work with this foundation as long as it's densely packed. You can buff it in really nicely. So I'm just going to take it again and apply it where I'm having some issues, and then I'll take the brush and just buff it in. That's much better, and it's buildable. It's not looking cakey, so that's a positive sign. Much better. I really, yeah, definitely the brush is the way to go when applying this foundation. But if you want a sheer coverage or a less full coverage, you can definitely use a sponge and it'll absorb some product. But this is definitely a medium to full coverage foundation, and it's definitely buildable. I'm not seeing any cakiness whatsoever yet. It's very natural looking. I feel like I'm still looking at my skin rather than foundation, so that's nice. The color match is pretty good too, I have to say. I ordered this blindly, not knowing exactly what shade I was going to be, because I never used the original formula of the foundation, but I would say that the match is pretty good. Like I said, I did order it offline. First impressions right off the bat, I really like it. It's a satin finish, which is nice because my skin has been very dry. I don't know how this would wear with oily skinned ladies out there or gentlemen, but I'm definitely seeing some reflectiveness to the foundation. It's like I'm wearing a highlight right here, but I think that's part of their light reflecting properties, and it's helping to blur out any imperfections as well, so that's really nice. Overall, right off the bat, like I said, I'm really liking it. I love the finish. Applying it was a breeze. Literally, it just blended in. It kind of just melted into your skin. It was very nice. Very luxurious feeling. So I am going to apply the rest of my makeup, and then I will check back with you guys in just a few minutes. Okay, so I've completed the rest of my makeup, and I have to say that from start to finish, I really did enjoy this foundation. Everything from the application of it to the finish of it is absolutely stunning. It is a very luxurious feeling foundation. Just the creaminess and the texture alone and how it feels kind of like silk on your skin, and the way it just melts into your skin as you buff it in is a very nice feeling. I do have dry skin, however, and I do think people with oilier skin will have an issue with it. I think definitely with the natural oils of your face, it will just move around a lot, and I don't think it would work for you, unfortunately. I would try it with a mattifying powder if you wanted to see if you can kind of tone down the dewiness. I do have to say that 5 minutes into the application, I noticed that the finish kind of went from satin to full-on dewy. There was a glow to my skin that I've never really experienced before, because anytime I try a dewy foundation, I feel like I just look oily. This was a very dewy finish. I do prefer the side of my face that we applied the primer, only because the primer helps smooth out the texture of my skin. I'm having an issue lately with clogged pores and just the texture of my skin. Right around this area, there are some flesh tone bumps that are raised, but that's just a personal kind of issue within myself. It has nothing to do with the foundation. I just did want to mention that because I did apply primer to one side, and it did definitely help the foundation apply a lot more smoothly. I do feel that there are light reflecting properties, because before I applied any other makeup to my face, I noticed that there was like a highlight beam showing from my cheekbone, and I think that was just the light bouncing off of my skin. But with that said, it also does a very good job at blurring out any imperfection that you have. So any fine lines or pores or anything like that, it kind of just blurs out your skin, and still it looks really natural. It is a very lightweight formula, and I really like that, because sometimes, especially with foundations in this area, if I have dry skin, this area tends to feel a little bit tight. I'm not getting that sensation at all with this foundation. It is a very natural feeling foundation, very lightweight. It looks natural on the skin. I feel like you're looking at my skin and not so much a foundation laying on top of my skin. I did set this with a translucent setting powder. This is the Laura Mercier. This is what I used, and I feel like it just brought it down from dewy back to a satin finish, which I prefer. I'm not a lover of completely dewy skin, but this I feel like kind of just helped to bring it down a notch back to a satin finish, and I also feel like it's gonna help it stay in place. My fear was that if I didn't set it, the foundation would slide around. So I'm gonna wear this for a few hours and see how my other products hold up, like my bronzer and blush and everything like that, to see if it will stay in place with the translucent powder over it. So we'll see how that goes, and I will get back to you guys in just a few hours. Okay guys, so I am back and it's just about 4:30 now. I applied the foundation at 10:30 this morning, so I've had a good 6 hours of wear of this foundation, and that was in and out of the pouring rain doing some last minute Christmas shopping. And it's been very warm in New Jersey, so it's kind of like that damp, muggy feeling outside, so we'll get an idea of how it has worn in kind of inclement weather. And I have to say, I kept spot checking my mirrors throughout the day in my car and looking at the camera on my phone and just waiting for this foundation to look like an oily mess. And every time I looked at the foundation in the mirror, I was very surprised at how well it has held up. If anything, it is a little bit more than satin of a finish right now. I feel like it's a little bit more dewy than it was when I first applied the powder over top of it. But regardless, it still looks really nice. It doesn't look oily or gross or anything. It hasn't really separated around my nose or around my chin, which is a big problem area for me. So I'm really happy that it's held up that well, and it also hasn't settled into my fine lines. Around my forehead especially, it's still super smooth. And this smile line, I think the primer had something to do with it, but it definitely hasn't settled in as much as foundations normally do around there. So I'm really pleased with that as well. I think, again, if you are oily, you're going to have a harder time with this foundation unless you use a super matte powder to conceal the dewiness of this foundation. Otherwise, if you are normal to dry skin, I would highly recommend this foundation. It's a nice long wearing foundation. It's a great formula. It applies beautifully and it just wears really nicely. If you're into a dewy finish, you will love this foundation. As you can see, my blush and bronzer are still pretty much intact, so it didn't really do a lot of moving around my face at all. So I'm happy that I applied the Laura Mercier translucent powder earlier, or else I felt like there was a chance that the foundation would have moved around a bit. You're not going to be able to tell on camera, but I can definitely see a difference in the side that I applied the primer with as opposed to the side that I didn't apply primer with. I think it looks a little bit better on this side of my face, the foundation itself. I think it just looks a little bit more like it did when I first applied it, rather than this side where I feel like it has faded just a little bit, nothing too dramatic, but I can definitely tell a difference as to which side I applied primer to. So that's just something to keep in mind if you are using this foundation and you don't tend to use primers. It does help with the longevity just a little bit. It just looks a little bit more flawless on this side than it does on this side. But again, it's nothing you're gonna be able to tell on camera. So if I zoom in, you're not really gonna be able to see a difference. So overall, I really like the foundation. This is going to be a personal preference type of foundation just based on the finish alone. It can be a con for some people that it is so dewy, like if you're oily or you're just not into that sort of look. But there are things you can do to tone the dewiness down. You can add a mattifying primer, you can add a mattifying powder on top. There's different ways that you can play with this foundation to make sure that it works with your specific skin type. But that's pretty much it for this first impressions review of the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Stick Foundation. I hope you guys had a great Christmas and I hope you got to spend tons of time with your friends and family. Thank you as always for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Like, subscribe to my channel, and as always, my social media links will be posted down below if you want to stay up to date on all my upcoming videos. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.